Good morning, everyone. It's the most wonderful time of the year, right? I'm so excited to be spending this morning, this super magical morning with you guys. I'm gonna give it a few minutes for some people to join, but do you guys feel it? Hi everyone. This is timeline shifting energy. I feel like I said that last time, but it was because it was sort of like the introduction to this plus the eclipse. But truly, and I'm gonna get into what exactly is going on cosmically, but this is once in a lifetime kind of astrological weather. And it's so imperative that we be intentional with how we're spending it and that we come back to self and we come back to stillness and we get clear on how we want to spend this next era of self, because that really is what it is. So I'm so excited to break down what's going on astrologically, read some of the cards pulled, do some journaling, and then we'll end with some breathwork meditation. So I'm super excited. I'll give it a few more minutes before I begin. But how are you guys feeling? Are you guys feeling the shift at all? I feel like it became this like Twitter thing where everyone was like, we're gonna wake up Monday morning and have like wings and powers and scales and all of those things. And obviously it's not something that is immediately physical, but it is something that is immediately energetic, I would say. I think there's a shift if you feel called to acknowledge the shift. So I'm super excited to get into it. I pulled some cards. Last night we did a virtual circle with some Reiki, some tarot. So I have some cards I pulled from there that I really want to share with you guys as well, because I think these are going to be like the cards of the week. And then I have some cards that I just pulled this morning that are telling a story, child. So I'm going to share those as well. But while we wait for the official commencement, we can already just get grounded and get still and sort of set an intention for how we want this morning to be spent together, and also the rest of this day. And consequently, with how we spend the rest of this day, it'll kind of be how we spend the next era of this conjunction, which is going to really be ruling us for 20 years. And I'll get into that. But let's just set an intention. So wherever you are, come into a place of stillness, taking a deep breath in, holding it at the top, and slowly releasing from the mouth. Moving any part of your body that needs a bit of nourishment, a bit of stretching. I feel like meditation is always known to be a still practice, but sometimes the body needs to be moved, honestly. So move out any kinks, any cracks. You can hear my hips are already just singing, apparently. And when you are ready and you feel called to, you can come back to your seat. Taking another deep breath in through the nose, filling the lungs completely. Holding it once you're full. And sighing that out. And allow yourself to just tap into this present moment. Where you are right now in this vessel, in your room, in the world. Release any tension that you may be holding, perhaps in your forehead, in your eyebrows, your jaw. Let your shoulders drop. And let's just embrace some stillness for a moment. Allow yourself to feel hugged by the matter that surrounds you. Though it may be invisible, it's palpable. You radiate an energy, and your environment mirrors that energy back. Feeling held and safe. I invite you to set an intention, not only for this gathering or this day, but just what you want to call in on the other side of this portal. Are you seeking peace? Are you seeking alignment? Are you seeking change and transformation? An inner evolution, an outer revolution? Getting clear on what you're calling in, specific as you'd like. When you have that intention, you can hold your hands to heart center and breathe it into your chest. Planting the seed of it being yours. And releasing. You're ready, you can come back so we can begin the evening together. Wow, I already feel very rooted. Let me make sure, because I know one person needed me to send the link, but okay, perfect. So welcome to the great conjunction that is today. And you've probably been hearing all about this cosmic moment, but maybe you may not actually know what's going on. So I'm definitely going to give you, like I said, a lowdown on what's going on astrologically, how it's affecting us. Then we're going to go into some chakra work, which is essentially doing some journaling in relation to the chakras that we'll be working with. And then some breathwork meditation at the end. So it'll definitely be a beautiful way to start off this amazing kinetic energy that we're stepping into. But first things first, today is a great conjunction. So what does this mean? Basically, in summation, this is a conjunction of two major planets, two major outer planets, Saturn and Venus, Saturn and Jupiter, which I have Saturn right over here because Saturn once used to rule Aquarius, fun fact. But Saturn is the planet of discipline, of structure, of karmic debt being played out. It is the planet that will teach you the hard way, but will also reward you if you step up to the plate. So that's why Saturn returns are something that is so, malefic, which a Saturn return is when Saturn comes back to the position that was in when you were born, and it happens every 27 years. So if you are nearing the age of 27 or 58 or, in your 60s, at the beginning of your 60s, you are going to be entering your Saturn return. So if you feel a strong sense of a reworking of everything that you once knew, then that is why. And if you are approaching it, there's a shadow period. But I digress. Saturn is a heavier energy, but it's only heavy if you are reluctant to transformation, if you're reluctant to change. I'm entering mine now, excited and nervous. Honestly, I think you should be excited. Many people are very nervous about this change, but I think that it's part of our human design to have to, look in our mirrors and understand what needs to be working and how we can show up to be the best version of ourselves. So if you ever need guidance on that, definitely reach out to me because I understand Saturn returns can be very heavy, but Saturn is a planet that we need. We would be completely structureless if we didn't have Saturn guiding us. And so Saturn meeting the planet of Jupiter, which is essentially the opposite energy. Jupiter is a very benefic planet. It's a planet of abundance and gifts and blessings and higher learning and expansion and travel. So when both of these planets meet, we're kind of being met in the middle with like, okay, we do want to move forward and transform in beautiful and abundant ways, but we need to do it structurally. We need to do it in a way that makes sense for us, in a way that supports us. And we also need to break down some structures that don't serve this forward movement. And also Uranus is playing a huge role, and Uranus really shakes things up. So we're not only going to see this on a personal level, We're going to see this on a collective level, in terms of our government, our politics, the way that things play out, just business wise in our society. And then, of course, we're going to see it, as above, so below in our personal lives. It's going to affect each and every one of us differently, depending on where your planets are, what placements you have, especially if you're a fixed sign. So if you have any influence from or any major placements of Aquarius, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, you're really going to feel this. But regardless, there's going to be an immense transformation. And so what's happening with these two planets that are coming in conjunction, they come in conjunction every 20 years. So this is a shift that we see every single 20 years. But what's so special about this one is that we haven't seen it in an air sign for over 200 years. So the great conjunctions have been happening in earth signs, right? And that's why there's been such a strong emphasis, not only in our personal lives, but mainly in just the collective movement, as far as emphasis on materialism and gaining, material gain, power, all of those earthly like energies. But now that it's stepping into an air sign, and specifically Aquarius, everything is going to be directed back to community, back to enlightenment, back to how can we think about humanity? How can we think about each other? And on a personal level, how can I move forward in my personal truth and honor my self-expression that pours back into the collective humanity? It's coming back to each other. It's coming back to we the people. And thank God that we are no longer being led by greed, but rather being led by purpose and intention. So I have some notes that I definitely wanted to hit before I moved on to the cards, but let me see. Yeah, so we're coming back to what our personal truth is. And the reason why is because with it being an Aquarius, we're really breaking down the ideologies that we may have inherited from governmental structures, from patriarchal structures, from societal structures, and coming back down, even from familial structures. If there's ways that you've been abiding in order to please people in your family, or to please people around you, to please your bosses, to please any structures that you've had to be part of, that's getting broken down. It's getting broken down. You are no longer in a space where you feel the need to subscribe to any beliefs that aren't innately yours. It's really coming back to truth. And when we come back to truth, we come back to authentic expression, right? Because when you are no longer subscribing to what you've been told happiness is, what you've been told success is, what you've been told fulfillment is, which when we were in an earthly conjunction, that maybe have meant, material gain or upkeeping a visage that wasn't true to you. When you come back to what your truth is, especially under Aquarius influence, it's like, what is actually fulfilling me and thus reverberating into the rest of the collective? What is actually feeding and nourishing something that is true and giving permission for somebody who's watching me to do the same? How am I going to self-define success? How am I going to self-define happiness? And maybe that looks like the complete opposite of what you've been told it is, but that's good. That's what questioning the old narratives and the old paradigms mean. We're breaking down centuries worth of just, I don't know. I can't exactly find the word to describe it, but it's basically like keeping us under what would make the most sense for them to play out their grand scheme. And I know this sounds very conspiracy theorist, but basically it's the sense that like we've incarnated, we've chosen this timeline to incarnate in, and we are choosing to lead in a place of love, in a place of community, in a place of coming back to self, of coming back to locals, of coming back to helping each other and embodying our spiritual truths rather than our material truths, rather than what is expected of us. So let me know if that makes sense. I'm sorry, that may have been very convoluted, but like there's a really grand ideology that's playing out here aside from what's going on a personal level. Yeah, and so when we break those beliefs, we come back to living in full alignment with what our personal values are and what our personal truth is. So when we move into this, this are the first steps of the age of Aquarius. Many astrologers are, debating about whether or not we really are stepping into the age of Aquarius, but in my personal belief, these are the first steps in. And when we come back into it, it's like, okay, how do I want to actually express myself? And this is going to look like a revamping in your career, a revamping in your relationships, a revamping in even your physical environment. A lot of people may be moving right now because you're really just no longer, your DNA is not allowing you to vibrate with anything that is not in alignment with who you are inwardly and who your personal truth embodies. We're connecting with our higher selves. And, I always say this, but we've always been our higher selves. It's just a matter of removing what does not serve your higher self, whether that's fears or anxieties, but we're really letting go of that. We're really stepping into like, okay, how can I really honor the life that I want to live? That it is in alignment with what I choose, with what serves me, because what serves you is what is going to serve the collective, because it's you, it's the authentic you, it's not the ego you, it's not what's expected of you, it's the real you. And we have to give each other permission to embody our truth. So when you do it, you mirror the next person next to you, and she mirrors the next person next to them. And it's all a chain. Coming back to community, like I said, we're coming back smaller. And how have you held yourself back from being the maker of your ideal reality? It's time to really get clear on that. How have you held yourself back from being the maker of your ideal reality? Because I think we've been very cerebral. We've been thinking everything through, and we've been figuring out how to gain as much money as we can out of everything. But how have you held yourself back from waking up today and going outside and doing exactly what makes you happy in that given moment, and trusting that it will feed you back with all of the abundance and love that you just poured out in that given moment? It's time to get out of that cerebral mentality. And obviously air does rule the mind, but I think when we've been in such an earth energy, it's been like squeezing the productivity out of everything and really abiding by this capitalistic way. And so when we come back to air, we're coming back to like connection to divinity, connection to what our higher selves wants for us. Our higher selves are not, our inner selves really. They're not abiding by how much money can you squeeze out of that, or you know what I mean? It's coming back to how can I find authentic pleasure in the way that I spend my time? And so that's why I think the cards that came out last night are so indicative of that, because the first one, I'll show you what it looks like upright, but it's deception and envy, but it came out in reverse. And the reason why I think this is so, so, so important is because the superpower that Aquariuses embody is authentic and unique expression. What makes you special and what your superpower is the fact that nobody on this planet can do what you do the way that you do it. Whether you're an artist, whether you're a writer, whether you're a singer, whether you're a doctor, whatever field it is that you embody, nobody can do your form of what you do. And when we all choose to step into a place of honoring the fact that we are authentic expressions of self, we no longer compare ourselves to anybody else, and we no longer envy anybody. And I think, Jupiter and Saturn moving out of Earth influence, right, and moving into Aquarius influence. Earth is very like power play, and I'm seeing that person do so well in their career, do so well in their love life, or hit all of these check marks that I want to hit in my life. How am I going to get there? And moving into air is like understanding that there's enough for everybody to go around, and we are all on our personal timelines, and comparing ourselves to anybody else and envying anybody else does not serve a single human being. So when we move out of this place of deception and envy, we move out of a space of not embodying our unique expression, because like I said, that is your superpower. And on the other side of this immensely powerful conjunction, at this immensely powerful portal that we're in right now, it is honoring what does your unique expression look like? Truthfully, what do you do that nobody else can do? How do you do it that makes you different? And doing it and not questioning it and no longer comparing yourself to anybody else, because that doesn't serve a single human being. The next one is emotional withdrawal. And the reason why this came up is because Saturn is in play here. We cannot ignore the fact that Saturn is playing a huge role in this conjunction. And Saturn is going to ask some things of you. Saturn is going to ask for you to get rid of some things that serve you ultimately, but may be difficult. It may be difficult to honor the fact that, you may have to sever some ties, sever some relationships, move out of certain environments, let go of certain ideologies, certain ways of thinking, and really just rework a lot of areas in your life. Like I said, this is going to affect many different people on many different levels. And if you are fixed energy, this is going to really be a zinger for you, especially because fixed energy, like I said, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio, change is, you're fixed. So change is a challenge. But, Saturn is saying if you don't rid these things or call in these things, you're going to stay stagnant and you're going to stay in the same place you've been. And do you want to stay in the same place that you've been? Because truthfully, everything is a timeline. And who's to say that some timelines are bad and some are good? A timeline is just what you make of it. So if you truly feel like, no thanks, I'm not in the mood to ascend, I'm comfortable playing it safe, then okay, that's fine. You can do that. And that's your prerogative, that's your journey. But if you are in a place where you do want total transformation, if you want to live in alignment with your highest possible vibration, your fullest potential, you're going to have to answer to Saturn. And answering to Saturn means some emotional withdrawal. Sometimes we can act from a place of either emotional exuberance. We make decisions from a place when we're really, really happy, or we make decisions from a place when we're really, really low emotionally. And I think the best decisions are made when we're in a state of clarity, when we're in a state of emotional equilibrium. So when we're in a state of emotional equilibrium, we're being called to get there by harnessing some stillness, getting clear. Don't make emotion-led decisions, but rather just take some time and think through, what relationships really do need to go, what decisions really do need to be made, and be honest with yourself and honor your truth. Because I think if I can really tie in what this conjunction means in one sentence, it would be coming back to personal truth. We are no longer abiding by outdated paradigms, outdated structures, and ways of thinking that have been imposed on us. We're coming back to our personal truth. And so honoring our personal truth means having some difficult conversations. But in having those difficult conversations, prosperity begins. This was the third card that came out, and it's so on point because, like I said, Saturn rewards. Saturn is not just like the angry stepfather who's going to teach you a lesson and then leave. Saturn says, this is what you need to do. This is the structure, the discipline, the way of living that you need to abide by. And it's going to be difficult. But if you say yes to the call, I'm going to reward you. If you say no to the call, that's okay. You're going to stay where you're at. And if you like where you're at because, you're comfortable settling, then that's fine. I'm not going to give you anything because you said you're fine with what you have. But if you want more and you want to do the work and you want to really answer the call, then I'm going to reward you. And that's when prosperity begins. And mind you, we're owed prosperity regardless, because I could assume, honestly, and especially if you're a person who even wanted to join this today, I can already tell that you're somebody who has been pouring back into yourself, who has been doing the emotional work. And the other side of this conjunction is reward. I think so many people were like so overwhelmed with like, what do I do today? Today is such a special day. How do I squeeze as much magic out of it as possible? And I understand that. And I'm glad that you're being intentional with it. But know that you're already be rewarding for everything. Like you're already being upgraded. You're already ascending because you've been doing the work. If you've been choosing to stay stagnant, if you've been ignoring the signs, because the universe will communicate with you if you communicate back. But if you've been choosing to ignore it, that's on you. But if you've been showing up, prosperity is beginning. You're being rewarded. And that goes right in alignment with the tarot cards that came out, and these are the ones that I picked this morning, which is Page of Pentacles and Eight of Pentacles. And this is new ideas, new movement forward in what you create. And of course, Pentacles is earth energy. And like I've been saying this whole time, we're moving out of earth energy, but this is coming up because projects look different when they're coming from a place of truth and when they're coming from a place of soul. You're no longer creating things for the sake of, keeping up your 9 to 5 portfolio, or, you know, having just enough money to survive. We're going to move into a space where we're creating things because that is our authentic form of expression. You may have been feeling a range of emotions this past week. That could be, you could be really drained. I know no one has been sleeping well, really vivid dreams, ringing in your ears. There's been a lot of like ascension symptoms that have been very, very physical. I, for one, I've been experiencing, like a lot of people have been experiencing migraines and stuff. The ringing in my ears have been insane. But one thing that I've seen kind of across the board is this like ideas and inspiration. A lot of people are getting intuitive hits on what they want to be doing, what projects they want to complete, the ways in which they want to step into their power in this next upcoming year. And that is everything to do with these two cards, because it's like, well, now that we're moving in from a space of inspired action, what projects are we going to take on that actually honor our truth and that we want to embody as our higher selves? And it's really exciting, honestly, because this is so divinely supported. Like I said, this great conjunction is a shift that we're not just seeing like, this isn't like, oh, it's a new moon and we'll be feeling the effects for 2 weeks, then we'll go. Like, this is a shift that we are going to be feeling for the next 20 years. Think about where you are right now and where you'll be 20 years from now and what you want that to look like. And of course, you know, you can't know the details, you can't know the specifics. And why would you? Why would you want to know the specifics? That would take the fun out of experiencing. But you can have an overview and you can have an idea of the kind of life you want to abide by. Do you want to abide by a life that is riddled by financial gain and you know, this hamster wheel and being drained and inspired and drained and inspired? Or do you want to make a shift into what your higher self wants and what boundaries are actually going to serve your personal evolution? And that's what this is calling. Also, the surrender card that I pulled was surrender to silence, and I think this is really just in alignment with what emotional withdrawal was saying, which is just get clear on your intuition. Get clear on your intuition, because we've been questioning our intuition a lot. The High Priestess in reverse also came up. And this is indicative to me that we have been questioning our intuition, and our intuitive compass is our most powerful tool. It is always going to drive us forward. It is always going to bring us to a space of the most abundance that we can possibly squeeze out of life. Always be led by your gut. Always be led by your gut. So when we move into the space of what, like I said, I'm deeming the first steps of the age of Aquarius, how are we going to honor what our gut and our soul wants? How are we going to honor what our gut and our soul wants? I have a couple of journaling prompts. I'm going to see if I want to get into it. But there's one last point that I want to, yes. How can you activate your own freedom? So another thing that is really impertinent with Aquarius energy, Aquarius, like I said, it's all about rebellion and restructuring the old ways of being. But what is the most important to Aquarius is its freedom, is her freedom, is his freedom. And so with this step forward in this new era of your life, how are you going to embody your freedom? And this is freedom in expression. This is freedom in just your physical independence. How are you going to be free? Maybe that's freedom in even like your sexual identity, your racial identity. How are you going to embody being free? And this is really important because we're coming back to community, guys. We are no longer going to be looking up to these false idols, these false prophets. We're coming back to community. And so when we're coming back to community, we ourselves become leaders. The people next to us are going to be looking at us because we're going to give them permission to embody their truth. So it is really important that we are A, honoring our authentic expression, and B, not holding back in that. Expressing ourselves artistically, the ways in which we feel called to innately, and giving others permission to do the same. And when we do that freely, and when we do that without abiding by any outdated paradigms that typically hold us back, we're shifting the collective. You know, our world is going to look completely different. This sounds, you need to come back to this in like maybe a year or 2 or 12 and understand that this was the mark of the beginning. When you're like, when did that shift start? It'll be right now, genuinely. But you have to realize that our society does not exist in a vacuum. it mirrors us. So the shift that we experience is going to be the shift that we embody. So you showing up is the most important thing that you need to do right now. It's not a selfish thing. You honoring what your true gifts and passions and desires are is imperative for the shift in the collective. As above, so below. And right now we're the below. And we need to mirror the above because the above is calling us to, genuinely. Our platforms are more important than they've ever been. And I think people deem platforms, because see, now is the ways of the earth-led conjunctions, which is just like platforms means numbers and followers and all of that. But that's no longer what's going to define a leader. Somebody who is embodying their truth boldly and loudly is what a leader is. So we really need to be clear on what truth we are embodying out loud, because that's what we're saying on our platforms. And that's actually one of the journaling prompts that I have, because the 3 chakras that we're going to be working with today is our sacral, our throat, and our third eye, because those are the ones that are being activated the most in this conjunction. And the journaling prompt that I have for our throat chakra is, what message do we want our platforms to send? Because no matter what, people are looking at us because we're looking at ourselves. Our energy right now is reverberating miles out, miles out. And it's really important that we are embodying our truth because we are making up the society that we're moving into. And if we no longer want to abide by the society that doesn't give a fuck about its people, that is so money-led and greed-driven, and we want to move into a space that is love-led, that uplifts anybody who wants to express themselves in any way that they want to, that wants to go back to community, we need to embody that ourselves. So how are you going to serve your community? How are you going to say yes to your personal power, to your personal form of expression? How are you going to do it? Because now's the time to do it. And I believe that was the main thing that I wanted to say about the conjunction. But just in summation, like I said, these 2 major planets are really going to call for a reworking of a lot of different areas in your life, but it is all for the benefits of you. It is all for your own personal evolution. It is all for you stepping into a space of authentic expression and ideas and motivation and community. Really, the Instagram people that you will be following now is going to look very different. Celebrity culture is being torn down, and the celebrities being replaced with it are people who are actually leading from a place of love and of, we're growing together. So I'm super excited. Let's get into the chakra work, which is just first, it'll be some prompts, and then we'll be breathing in through our chakras, which is probably the most important part of this gathering. So definitely, at the very least, stick for that. But yes, I'll have some background music playing. And the first one that I want to work with, let's go with our third eye. So the third eye is something that is being deeply activated in this conjunction. And so our third eye is our seat of our intuition, right? It's where our intuitive compass lies. It's where our divine intuitive compass lies. And it's our clairvoyance. It's our sense of knowing. It's our sense of, those intuitive and gut-led hits. And above all else, it's our personal truth. So when we abide by our personal truth, like I've said this whole entire time, we're in alignment with our higher selves. So it's time to get clear on our third eye chakra by journaling on what is my personal success? What is my personal definition of success, fulfillment, and a life well lived? I'll drop that in the chat as well. What is my personal definition of success, fulfillment, and a life well lived? I also want to say that this conjunction may have you feeling very scatterbrained, or you may find it very difficult to communicate, which has been the case for me. Typically, I lead like workshops and gatherings like so fluidly, but today the words are just like completely tongue-tied, and that's been the theme this like entire time. But I'll have some ambient music playing while I also answer the prompts. Make sure you know that you are, as you answer this prompt, you know that you're abiding by what your personal truth is and not what you've been told success, fulfillment, and a life well lived looks like. Amazing. All right. Finishing up. Our third eye is one of the most important chakras that we'll be working with today because it is, like I said, what is fully getting activated on this other side of this portal. It's really like, well, we are on the other side of the portal right now because it's Monday. So it's truthfully, it's like coming back to our intuitive seat and being led by self rather than what is expected of you. And of course, we want to work with we want to work with both our throat and our solar, but I'll go to throat next. I've been talking so much about truth, and our throat chakra, our blue energy center, is all about honoring and voicing and expressing and receiving our personal truth. And right now, it is imperative, like I said, not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the collective, that we honor our truth. What our truth looks like physically and tangibly, what our truth looks like in words, in energy, in environment, honoring what your truth is. So the prompt that I have for our throat chakra is, what do I choose my platform message to be? And you don't have to take platform so literally. That doesn't mean like, what do people think when they see my Instagram or my Twitter, but rather like, what do I want my energy when I walk into a room? The words that I say when I'm in a debate, when I'm in a conversation, when I'm in a discussion, what do I want my body to embody? If somebody had to meet me and understand something immediately, intuitively, what does that look like? What do you want your message to be? This is a really important one. So allow yourself to really just free write. Do you want to empower people? Do you want to challenge them? Get clear on who you are. There's no wrong answer, truthfully. You can write out full sentences or even just words, you know? What do you want your message to be? Finishing up. Amazing. So we've gotten clear on what our personal definition of a life well lived is. We've gotten clear on what success and fulfillment looks like for us. We've gotten clear on what we want our message to be, right? What we want for people to receive when we walk into the room and when we connect with them, when we share with them. So the last thing, which is connecting to our solar plexus, right? Our solar plexus is our power center. It is where we derive our action from. It's how we move forward, how we're seen and how we choose to be seen. And it's also our fears. So, let's get clear on what self-inflicted fears are holding us back from embodying these truths that we've just put out. Okay, well, if I know what a life well lived looks like, and if I know what I want my energy to embody, what's stopping me from honoring that? And if you don't know, Saturn will let you know. Trust me. Okay, what self-inflicted fears? I don't know why typing is so difficult. There we go. Maybe they're just insecurities. It's okay. Just be honest with yourself, truthfully. That came up for me just now, so just thought I'd share. Finishing up. What came up for me that I really want to share on, because this has been a theme a lot as of late, is I think we see a finality in all of the choices that we make because we don't see them as choices, we see them as decisions. And I think it's imperative we realize that not every choice that we make is going to put us on a final timeline. Every choice that we make is simply a choice, and we can change it if we feel called to. So what came up for me is like fear of missing out or fear of making the wrong decision and being on the wrong timeline. But the timeline that you choose is the timeline that you make of it. Like I said earlier, if you don't want to heed the call of really revolutionizing and evolving your life, that's okay, because that's the timeline that you chose. And who's to say that that isn't what honors and resonates with you? And if you do decide that you want more, you can make that choice and want more. You're never missing the train. You're never, you're always fine. Time is malleable. Choices can change. If you let down some boundaries that you promised yourself you would keep up at some point, that's okay. Because the next time the opportunity presents itself, you can honor those boundaries. You don't make the wrong decision and be punished for it, but you can make the right decision and be rewarded for it. But there's no, everything just is. But anyway, in summation, before we get into the meditation, that rhymed, today is a great conjunction. Saturn, Jupiter meeting in the sign of Aquarius. This is the first time this has happened in 200 years, and this is an energy that we're going to feel for a very long time, but at the very least 20 years. And how we harness and step into ourselves in this forward movement is imperative for how our lives play out for the next 2 decades. That isn't to say that, like I said, every decision is going to put you down a permanent path, but you do want to be intentional with what you are honoring at this time. And what is supported and being honored in this time is personal truth, personal expression, authentic expression, coming back to community, coming back to humanity, breaking down old structures and old paradigms that exist collectively and personally, ways in which we've been abiding by what's expected of us, what is outdated, what is greed-led, money-led, earth-led, and coming back to what is community-led and true. And above all else, embodying our freedom, feeling okay to be yourself and giving others permission to do the same. The cards that came up, moving away from a place of deception and envy because we are unique and that is our superpowers, coming back to emotional withdrawal and thinking things through because Saturn is going to ask some questions of you, and prosperity, knowing that we're being rewarded simply for answering the call. So like I said, in these prompts that we've worked through, which is what is my personal definition of success and fulfillment, what do I want my message to be? What message do I want my energy, my platform to bring forth? And what self-inflicted fears am I ready to release? As we get clear on that, we can work through the chakras that we've been intentional with, which is our solar, our throat, and our third eye. So we're going to be working from the mid-abdomen up. And if you have never done breath work before, I strongly advise that you implement it into your daily routine. It is the most powerful tool that we have, and it can move energy through and out of us if we are intentional with it. So I do try to do breath work at very least twice a week. And if you only do it once a week, and if you only do it when you're with me, that is totally fine. I just advise you to always come back to your breath when you need to. So when you're ready, you can move out any kinks, anything that may have felt a bit stale during the time in which you've journaled together or sat together. Stretching just like we did in the beginning, but now with a bit more intention. Honoring your body with movement, with intention. And when you're ready, coming back to a place of stillness. Taking a deep, deep, deep breath in, this time to the count of 7. Holding it for the count of 5. And releasing to the count of 8. One more time, breathing in to the count of 7. Holding it for the count of 5. Then exhaling for the count of 8. I want you to embrace where you are in this given moment. And simply notice how you feel. Do you feel overwhelmed by what we talked about? Excited? Drained? Motivated? Do you feel proud of yourself? Or even disappointed? There's no wrong emotion to feel here. Just feel it. When you're ready, I invite you to bring your awareness to the mid-abdomen, right here. Your solar plexus center. Imagine the sun itself embodying your mid-abdomen. This yellow energy center is our drive, our forward movement, how we're seen and how we see ourselves. How do you choose to see yourself on the other side of this conjunction? How do you want the world to see you? And what inspired action can you take to honor that? When you're ready, we're going to start doing some breath work. And what breathing in through the solar looks like is bringing our mid-abdomen to the front on the inhale, to the back on our exhale, like this. We can do this either through the nose or an O-shaped mouth, and I'll advise you when we're ready to go to the opposite direction, and really envision this yellow energy center permeating in and without you. Affirming that you are a powerful being. That you take inspired action and honor your truth when you do. Affirm that you are confident and capable. Moving either counterclockwise or clockwise, depending on how you began. Release any insecurities. Breathe out any fears that you aren't enough. Any self-inflicted fear, any external inflicted fear that does not resonate with your truth. Last few, being deeply intentional. Breathing fully into your mid-abdomen and holding it. Fully exhaling. Allow yourself to marinate in the feeling. Moving up, let's bring our awareness to our throat chakra, this blue energy center in our throats. Envision a cloudless sky or vast blue ocean permeating in this energy center. This is our truth. This is how we communicate, how we listen. How we embody our authentic expression and pour it outwardly. What is your truth? Artistically, romantically, platonically, familially, expressively. What is your truth? How are you going to embody and speak on that truth? What boundaries does that call for? And what boundaries does that invite you to tear down? Breathing in, what it looks like is clasping our hands under our chins, breathing up and out. And when we do this, I really want you to envision this blue energy center permeating out of you and through you. Breathing in. Affirm that I am my authentic expression. I am safe and free to express myself as I choose. I honor my truth physically and emotionally. I honor my boundaries and take down the ones that don't honor me. Breathing in fully and deeply and seeing this blue move in and out of us. Last few being deeply intentional. Breathing in fully, holding in. And breathing out. Holding it out as we come back to center. Notice any shifts. Any sensations. Any emotions that may have come up. Breathwork releases. And if anything has come to the surface, it's because it's bidding you its farewell. Lastly, bringing our awareness to the mid-brow point. This is our third eye chakra, and this is our seat of intuition, our seat of clairvoyance, our seat of inner power. Not the physical power like solar plexus, but the subtle power you have when you understand and know something without logical explanation, but intuitive explanation, like gut-led emotion. As we breathe through this energy center, how have you been honoring a truth that is not yours and questioning your own intuitive compass? How have you been dimming your own power? How have you disconnected yourself from yourself? And lastly, what does your higher self look like? The you that is not riddled with egoic fears. What do you look like and how can you embody that self? Breathing with the third eye is a bit tricky, so I'll show you what you first need do is choose a point in front of you that you want to focus on. This is what I believe they call your mudra. You're going to harness and maintain that view while covering your eyes and opening them on the out breath. So it looks like this. Maintaining your vision on that mudra. Each time that you open back up your eyes, breathing in and really seeing this deeply indigo, I apologize for not saying the color, this deeply indigo color permeates right in that mid-brow point, harnessing and circling and moving through. Affirm that I am my own best counsel. I always have my inner knowing. I abide by my own inner knowing. Seeing that indigo color move through your forehead. I am intuitively led. I am powerful and clairvoyant. Last few. Breathing in. And releasing. Coming back. Sitting in. Observe any shifts you feel physically, emotionally, spiritually. Through your breath, you've shifted your auric field, strengthened your energetic vibration, and honored yourself with intention. As we close our energetic chakra channels, bring your hands to heart center, affirming that you are the embodiment of magic, the matter that makes up the stars, the water that makes up the ocean, the wind that breezes through the trees can all be found within you, in your lungs, in your physical vessels, in your heart. You are in control of experience because you are in control of your perception and your action. Feel empowered and knowing that you have yourself. Come back to that intention that you set in the beginning of our time together. What you want to embody on the other side of this new era. This new era, societally, internally, externally, personally, relationally, familially, expressively. This is a new sense of being. If you could boil down what you choose this new sense of being to be defined by, what is it? It's 10:10 and we've been on here for an hour and 11 minutes. So really take in this magical moment. What are you calling in? Is it peace? Is it love? Alignment, fulfillment, abundance, connection, laughter, play? Is it all of the above? Breathing in that intention and releasing it as we come back to our bodies. Thank you so much for spending this incredibly special morning with me. I hope that you move forward in this conjunction energy with strength, resilience, and vigor. This is your moment. This is your time. This is really your time. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you will come back next time. I do these every Monday. And otherwise, please move forward with grace, with empowerment. You are divine, you are strong. And this is going to be an incredible time for each and every one of us. So I'm so grateful. And I invite you to be intentional with the rest of your day. Eat as clean as you can. Spend as much time or as little time as possible online. Really just be in your physical environment. Hopefully, if that means nature, that'll be nature. But otherwise, I send you all of my love. And yeah, have an incredible day. Thank you. Bye, everyone.